Hello friends, make sure you write down these properties because you can't move on without basically proving to me that you took notes. 13 properties is way too much to remember, so write these all down. They're kind of review from 7th grade, but I'm sure you remember the struggle. A rectangle is a type of parallelogram, but a parallelogram is not a rectangle. It was like a flow chart. I'll give you that at the end if I can remember. But if you picture a parallelogram as a slanted rectangle, as soon as there's one 90 degree, they're all 90 degrees. Write that down. A rectangle is a parallelogram, but it has to have a right angle. All right, similarly, a rhombus is another type of parallelogram. A parallelogram is not a rhombus. And a rhombus cannot be a rectangle, and a rectangle cannot be rhombus. They're both a type of parallelogram. What makes you a rhombus is if your parallelogram has 4 equal sides. Rule number 9. A square is an even more special shape because it goes into multiple categories. A square is a type of rectangle, which is misleading because your preschool teacher taught you that a square and a rectangle are 2 different things, but a square is a rectangle. It's just that it's a rectangle with 4 equal sides. Purple dot. Okay. Rule number 10. Oh, I started on 7 because the other video gave you rule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can just have all your rules in one nice spot. All right, a square is also a type of rhombus because remember a rhombus was a parallelogram with 4 sides, or equal sides. So squares also have 4 equal sides, but if a rhombus has a right angle, it is now even more special and is a square. A square is a rhombus, but a rhombus is not a square. And a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. And all 3 of them are a type of parallelogram. So a square is everything. A square is a rectangle, a square is a rhombus, a square is a parallelogram, a square is a quadrilateral. Squares are super special. Did we do this one? All right, and then the last thing is their diagonal properties. Because the diagonals of each one have different features. But if you picture it in your mind, you won't have to memorize it. Because if you picture a long rectangle, clearly this is not 90 degrees, right? So it's not talking about the corners of the rectangle, it's saying their diagonals. Do the diagonals form a 90-degree angle? Not even close, right? So they do not form 90-degree angles, but they are going to be the same length. So because this is a perfect 90-degree angle, these diagonals are the exact same length. Yes, congruent, not perpendicular. And again, that was for a rectangle. Pause the video and write that down. No one can remember these ever. All right, but picture a perfect square. Do these 2 lines look like they're equal? Yes, because again, it's a 90 degrees, so they're going to be the exact same length. They are congruent, and they do form a 90-degree angle. This rule was on the other video as well. Yes, they form a 90-degree. Yes, they are congruent. Next. But a rhombus. If you don't believe me that these are the exact same length, because they're slanted, look. It's about the length of my yellow paper. It's about the length of a yellow paper. Those sides are the same, but as soon as a square gets slanted like that, it becomes a rhombus. But this is way longer than that, you know? See, this is shorter. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is shorter than the length of my paper, and this is way longer. So it's going to have, because it's slanted, it's going to have a long diagonal and a short diagonal. Oh, good. So they are not congruent, but they do form perfect perpendicular lines. All right, so let me give you the flow chart, which you should have seen before. Quadrilaterals is really the name of the chapter. 4-sided shapes. Now, you can be a trapezoid, which we haven't even talked about yet. You can be a kite, which we haven't even talked about yet. Or you can be a parallelogram. So that's why we spend like 1 day on those and 1,000,000 days on those, because parallelograms have all these branches as well. Parallelograms are either going to be a rectangle or a rhombus. But then a rectangle could also be a square, rhombus could be a square. So in a couple days we'll do an assignment where you have to like classify them. So if they give you a rectangle, you pick rectangle, parallelogram, quadrilateral. If they give you a square, you pick rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, quadrilateral. Like you pick everything that's above it in this little tree, okay? But let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, bye. Go do your work. It's IXL.